Welcome back, everybody. We are still hot on the heels of John Wilkes Booth. We have chased him all around. We've gone from Washington, D.C., and we're now standing on this beautiful, inauspicious country road where we have gone through, our nation at this point has gone through 12 days, the most probably
harrowing
tumultuous.
days, among the most harrowing
absolutely
days.
harrowing days of our nation's history, and all of that is about ready to come to a close just a few hundred feet behind us at the Garrett Farm.
So Parker's right. We're here on the side of modern-day Route 301. The northbound lane blitzes and the southbound lane blitz right through the property of Richard Garrett, who had a farm. We're standing on the side of the road here on the northbound lane that would be more closer to the homestead, the farm, the living space of Richard Garrett. But here, just as Parker said, a few dozen yards behind us here in the median. So if you ever come to this site, be very, 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 very careful and follow all of the laws about where you can and can't park.
How careful should they be?
Very. You're right near a military installation. They will jack you up. But more importantly, there are speeding vehicles, as you can see in the background here. They're hauling ass. But it's here about just a few dozen yards or so behind us, where in the very early morning hours of April 26, 1865, the 16th New York Cavalry is going to corner John Wilkes Booth and David Harold in that tobacco barn on the Garrett Farm property. Now, the night before, in Bowling Green, Virginia, just about 8 or 9 miles south of where we're standing right now, a couple Confederate soldiers, a few Confederate soldiers went into town to have a good time. One of those soldiers, Willie Jett, is going to be arrested by Union cavalry and give up the location of John Wilkes Booth. So the 16th New York Cavalry, making good on that intelligence, will corner John Wilkes Booth here in the barn, and what they'll do is they'll light it ablaze. As soon as the barn is engulfed in flames, the co-conspirator to Booth, presidential assassin conspirator, David Harold, he'll give himself up immediately. He'll be taken into custody and literally tied to a tree while the rest of this story plays out. Now, for Booth himself, Booth is going to allegedly raise a rifle. Sergeant Boston Corbett, who's his own podcast story in and of himself. Boston Corbett is a sergeant in the 16th New York Cavalry. He will allege that John Wilkes Booth will raise that Spencer carbine rifle that he had picked up at the Surratt Tavern just about 12 days or so before. Sergeant Corbett will say that he'll raise that carbine at Union soldiers outside, and as such, Boston Corbett with his sidearm will shoot the presidential assassin, John Wilkes Booth. Like President Lincoln, John Wilkes Booth does not die instantly from this wound. He is mortally wounded, and in fact will spend several hours lingering on the porch of the Garrett house where Union soldiers had brought him. And very famously, among the final words that John Wilkes Booth will ever order will be, "Useless, useless," when he is gazing upon his hands, in which he no longer has cerebral control over. So, like Parker said, this has been a very long 12 days for the nation. Among the most harrowing in their history, probably the most harrowing since the days of the Revolution in the 1770s and 80s. For us, this has been a very long day. We have released this in several installments, but as you can tell by my voice and probably Parker's exhausted face here, we have gone in a single day from Washington, D.C., all the way to just south of Port Royal, Virginia, kind of in between Port Royal and Bowling Green, Virginia.
To be fair, I was born with this face, though.
This has been a very exciting time. This is going to be the last time we'll spend from the field in the Civil War for a little while. We recognize that we've given you exclusively Civil War from the fields, and we look forward to the challenge of moving into a new story, into a new era with this next year. But this has been an awesome experience, going through the place where the first presidential murder took place, a horribly sober and macabre kind of experience, and then honestly, today for us on a very beautiful day in March while we film, being, well over 100 miles from the Capitol at this point, just kind of a very humbling understanding of what that journey was like for the first presidential assassin in United States history. So check out all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you're following along with the show on all major podcast apps. As always, this is Parker Russell. I'm Pat McGuire. This has been From the Field, Season 6, 2025, saying we'll see you all later.